Hey, it's me, Nalthazar, and welcome to another Magic Puzzle Quest video. In today's video, I'm going to be spoiling my second and final card for the upcoming Aetherdrift set. So, let's get into it. The second card I get to spoil is a masterpiece in the form of Territorial Aetherkite. This is a 13 mana 6/5 flying haste cat dragon that has a brand new mechanic that is being introduced to Puzzle Quest with the Aetherdrift set. That mechanic is speed and boost. So you'll notice that for Territorial Aetherkite, we've got this little double up arrow symbol here on the left as an evergreen with a 2. And we'll notice that on the bottom here for the text, it says that it has boost 2. So in order to fully understand this card, we're going to need to understand the new mechanic of speed and boost. So when you play a card that has boost, you're going to gain the speed emblem on your Planeswalker. That speed emblem will go up every time a creature of yours deals combat damage to your opponent. That means that if you have one creature out, it's going to increase your speed by 1 for hitting your opponent. If it has double strike, it's going to increase your speed by 2. The maximum speed counter that you can have on your Planeswalker is going to be 7. Your speed does not go down throughout the match. So you can get speed set up fairly quickly by playing a card with boost, getting that speed emblem, and then ramping that speed emblem up by dealing damage to your opponent's Planeswalker. So the Territorial Aetherkite is 13 for a 6/5 flying haste and boost 2. When this creature enters the battlefield, it's going to get a +X+0 buff until end of turn. That buff is going to be equal to the number of creatures and creature reinforcements you control up to 25. That means that this card is going to pair fantastically with tokens or other cards that are going to reinforce a massive amount of times. Because the buff is going to be up to 25, you're ideally going to want to pair this with cards that are going to have many small reinforcements as opposed to big reinforcements, as big reinforcements are just going to win the game on their own anyways. Then this has boost 2. So when it enters the battlefield, it's going to get the buff and then boost 2. With boost 2, it's then going to deal damage equal to its power to the opponent's Planeswalker and to the first opposing creature. Honestly, I love the design of this card having both boost and haste, meaning you're going to get that speed emblem, and then you're going to get boost very quickly by having a haste critter hit immediately. It'll be interesting to see what other cards come out in the set with speed and boost, and what the different boost numbers are going to be. Since there's going to be a maximum of 7, I have to imagine that we'll see some cards that will require higher boost values. This does mean that having double strike on your creatures is definitely going to be something to look out for this set, especially if you are planning on playing with this new boost mechanic. I feel like as things go, this is a very accessible mechanic. You're going to be playing with creatures in most of your decks anyways, and so all you really need is any of these cards with boost and creatures, and you're going to be increasing your speed and then getting access to more boost. So I think that this is a really cool mechanic. I think it's very well implemented for Puzzle Quest. This is just the first card that we are seeing with boost, and it's boost 2, which I think is also a very reasonable amount, as it only requires 2 hits on the opponent. Now, in terms of how to make the best use out of Territorial Aetherkite, you're going to want to have it paired with Planeswalkers or cards that are going to be able to generate a lot of tokens. There are fun things you can run, such as Goblin Negotiation, which makes a whole bunch of goblins, and that can get you up pretty high. You could also run something like Archangel Elspeth, the Vanguard. That thing makes a ton of tokens every single turn. I happen to think that that's amongst, if not the best card in Standard right now, just for pumping out a whole bunch of tokens. I use that card a lot. It has a lot of practical uses that you can throw into decks. And then there's a totally other side of this card, which is, I think, part of what's interesting about the design of this card. There's a totally other side of this card that you can really build into as well. And that's the getting multiple copies or copies of this down every single turn strategy. So you could run this with, say, Sarkhan Unbroken. And then with the third ability, if this is your only creature in your deck that has power of 6, immediately pull 3 copies out of your deck and then drop them 1, 2, 3 right there. And so as long as you make sure that you have your boost activated to boost 2 by the time you use that third ability from Brokon, then you're going to be getting these kitties down and they are going to do a ton of damage. Another option that you could do is you could do something like Assemble the Players, which is going to allow you to fetch and put a creature from your deck directly into play every single turn, so long as it has a power of 6 or less, and the Aetherkite absolutely has that, so you'll be able to do it that way. Or you could even go a totally different strategy and get something like Extravagant Replication or one of those other types of cards that put knowledge emblems down, where you're able to just create a copy of a creature you control multiple times, either by casting or just every single turn by the Extravagant Replication, so that you're getting a Territorial Aetherkite every single turn. There's other stuff like Felix 5 boots, and I mean, there's plenty of things that we have that can make multiple copies of this come down every single turn. And with all of that together, I think you have a card that could be tremendously powerful in the right circumstances. In order for all of this creature's abilities to activate, it does need to enter the battlefield. So the enter the battlefield is what's going to get it the power boost, and it's also what's going to be needed in order to trigger the boost 2 as well. I'm personally really excited to try this out. I'm excited to see what other cards are going to have boost in the set. As I mentioned earlier, I really like that this just fits, I feel, very seamlessly into the Magic Puzzle Quest experience. So I think that this is a very well-designed mechanic to port over from paper to Puzzle Quest. With that, please let me know if you think that I'm missing something, some other kinds of token generators, some other ways of getting multiple copies of this down. What are some ways that you guys are thinking of that you would want to play with this card that you think that I'm missing? I think there's going to be a lot of different ways that you can play around with this card. As a masterpiece, this is definitely something that you would work your way toward. It's not likely something you're going to pull in your day 1 packs, but I do really like the look of this as the first masterpiece that I've seen from the set. With that, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.